This is going to be the thumbnail. All right. So as you can see from the title, I'm going to be talking about something that is very vulnerable. And yeah, I'm just going to get right into it. I've been putting this off, much like the reason why I ended up having to have banding surgery, or well, it's not a surgery, a procedure. Anyway, it's because I kept putting it off, putting it off, putting it off. And so this video is really going to be, I guess, a cautionary tale about what not to do, so that way you can never have hemorrhoids. And if you do have them, deal with them right away, change your habits, and all of that and all of that. So I have a history of constipation. Oh God, this is so embarrassing. This is so embarrassing. It's so shameful. Um, but this year is all about me trying to meet my own needs. That was my mantra. And also living my purpose. And my purpose is all about overcoming my challenges, and then, sharing how I did that, and share that with other people that may be going through the same thing, so that way that you cannot feel alone. Okay, so part of my purpose is this is all that. So I hope this message reaches you, and maybe play this on 2x speed, because yeah, for those that don't really have a whole lot of attention span. So where to begin? So I just got back from my banding procedure, and I was just got through looking at a bunch of other YouTube videos. I've been kind of researching and obsessing about it. They had gotten so bad that I was really considering surgery in general. And so hemorrhoid banding is the least invasive form. Well, I don't know about well, yes, it is the least invasive form. I'm still researching. And as opposed to having an actual hemorrhoidectomy, which is, from what I've heard, like the worst surgery ever. The recovery is brutal, and it's like you're pooping glass every time you go. And so this all kind of got started because of I've have a history of constipation. Used to The reason why I pretty much had changed my diet, and at one point I was completely plant based. Got into holistic kind of healing and medicine and everything, was as a result of my constipation. Um, I used to love, love, love cheese. I still like cheese, but not as much. Only certain types. But apparently, I loved it so much as a child that my mother used to call me Mousy. And I remember distinctively having a full-on meltdown because she would not let me snack on some slices of cheese while she was preparing dinner. I also remember a couple of episodes where my constipation would get so bad as a child that I had to, I was like, things had gotten so bad that I couldn't go. And so then I was afraid to go, and it wouldn't come out, and it was just bad. Things just were bad. And so as I got older, the standard American diet is a lot of overly processed foods. And I just remember loving McDonald's and loving all the things that 20 somethings eat. Um, 20 something year olds eat. And, as a busy nurse, I didn't like to cook. A lot. That's part of the other issues. Like, we don't really cook or anything, and so I remember always coming home and getting me a fillet of fish with extra cheese, because you had to have you had to. They started getting stingy and only putting a half a slice on there, so then you had to ask for extra cheese to get the full piece of cheese. But that led to me, like, I would be pooping like maybe rabbit pellets like once or twice a week, if that much. And so my habits kind of got, and I wasn't drinking enough water, and just not eating enough fiber and fruits and veggies and all of that and all of that. And so I remember when I turned 30, the 30-year spread hit, and I started exercising then, and I started becoming more health conscious. And then one day, I remember being at Tropical Smoothie. This is when I lived in Atlanta, which is pretty much where I grew up, I'd say, and started getting all of these back in 2005. And there was this brochure about colon cleansing, and that kind of piqued my interest and just pretty much opened up everything for me. And so I went, I started researching and learning about, like, how you should be cleaning your colon and detoxing and all of that. And so then that kind of led me on, like, this journey of, doing a lot of colonics, or colon hydrotherapy is the other name, and doing detoxes. And once I had my first detox or colon hydrotherapy or whatever, and you notice what it feels like to completely be empty and not bloated and always feeling like you got to go, or you go and you're not actually emptying all the way, it was like, oh my God, this is what I have been missing. So it kind of got a little bit obsessed, and people that know me and that knew me when whenever I would go be at work, like, everybody knows when I have to have a bowel movement, or like, just my favorite topic just really is about doo-doo and pooping, and it just led me on this kind of obsessed. Have become really kind of bowel obsessed. Once I started on that journey, almost to the point once I got pregnant, I was on this kind of trek of, like, I never liked the feeling of being full anymore. And so, I was like doing these colonics and all of that. And I remember the obstetrician who told me I was pregnant, and she found out about me doing all of this. She was like, listen, you don't like the feeling of being full. Well, you're definitely going to be feeling like that when you're pregnant. And she basically kind of diagnosed me and said I was a bit anorexic, bulimic a little bit, because I was overusing and abusing laxatives and all of that. Anyway, so I was managed to get my bowels back to normal, and instead of using all of these detoxes, now I still will believe in detoxing and stuff, but it wasn't mainly with food and food instead of just like herbs and all these other things. And so I do believe you should still do it like at least 2 or 3 times a year, 3 or 4 times a year, but there's balance with that. With all that being said, my habits became of just sitting on the toilet became a thing, which is the habit of straining with constipation and the habit of over sitting um, is what causes the hemorrhoids. I didn't realize that that's what it was. I mean, for a while there, and just so for people that don't know, you kind of feel like it feels just kind of like a little. It starts off as a little burning, a little itching, a little, sometimes it feels like you still might have to go or whatever. If you ever feel anything, my thing is get you a mirror and just go down there and look and see what's going on with your body. Anything that goes wrong down there, that's what I always would do. And so the habit of sitting, the bad habit of sitting, kind of led also to I have a pelvic floor dysfunction as well, because the muscles down there from sitting all that time became overly stretched, and so that led to the hemorrhoids. So now when I'm sitting, there's like not a kind of like symbiosis, or like everything's uncoordinated, and so the poop may feel like it needs to come out, but it won't come out because my pelvic floor is not relaxed enough to come out. It's so anyway, that led to the hemorrhoids, what they call prolapsing. Oh, coming out of the anus, like coming out my butt. And when things were really bad, when I still didn't know, at this point I knew that I had hemorrhoids, but the fact that they were prolapsing now, like it got so bad back when I was working full-time as a nurse and on the floor, like working in the nursing home. And I would literally have to, and this sounds so gross, I should have put a trigger warning in the beginning that if anybody doesn't want to talk about doo-doo and poop, just scroll on by, because I'm going to be very graphic here. I would have to, because it would come down, it would be so uncomfortable, I would have to like stick my finger in my butt and push it back up in there. And so I kept my wipes and my sanitizer and all these things. And, like it's in between rooms, I would like have to do this thing and then clean up and then go past a med and then until I'm able to sit down, because just the gravity. So at some point, that was when I was also about 40 pounds heavier. And so I started regulating my eating habits again. And by this time, my diet was better. Like, I can't remember, it's been years since I've eaten McDonald's or really any fast food. And I still do some processed stuff, but I'm more holistic. I'm not obsessive anymore about, but basically my diet is mostly plants, fruits, and veggies. And so the stool itself is fine, but because my pelvic floor is messed up, the habit of me sitting became a thing to the point where, this is going to sound so crazy, I literally would some days sit on the toilet for like 2 hours. I know. And so, like things would get to the point where, so at that point when they were coming out all the time, like, I remember one time I was with my friend and we were at a derby event where we were at the derby, and things were so bad, like I could not walk. Things became so bad to the point where like I was afraid to like go out and be out and feeling like I needed to stand if there was going to be any standing or anything like that. I would not go out because I was afraid that my hemorrhoids would be popping out my butt, and I would have to be. So I ended up losing all the weight. I completely changed my diet. I went vegan or plant-based. I went completely plant-based once I lost the weight, and then, you know, the weight of everything wasn't making it to the point where they were coming out just all the time, but only when I would go to the bathroom. So now they're to the point. I did not want this video to be longer. So now I'm going to actually stop here, and then I'll just create another separate video, because this is going to be like the backstory. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah. So come to part 2. Yeah. To hear the rest of the story. All right. Peace and love.